Welcome back to Final Fantasy PSP. So let's check back to Castle Corneria Warriors and let's see if we can find the back door that has the powder in it, the nitro powder we need.
Let's see now. Where did the map say that nitro powder was? They kept it in the secret stash. Right.
Welcome to Corneria.
Pedro, what did that riddle that guy give you say
there you go.
about
Thanks to the mystic key, we can have there you go. We can open this chest in the back door of the Castle Corneria and get some of this equipment for all of us, and then finding nitro powder. I guess we just store that in the basement for some reason.
Hey guys, look, the kingdom is giving us, quote unquote, our reward.
You decide to let Dweebs carry the entire powder keg on his back.
Oh, nice.
Here you go, Dweebs.
Oh, great. I'll remember to put this in your tent next time you insult my cooking.
Unfortunately, Dweebs, we need that. There you go. Pedro, instead, just like Shirei is equipped with a mullet for the V3 hammer, Pedro is gonna be equipped. He's gonna be equipped with a mithril knife for most of our run because, again, the weapon variety for mages in this game is actually very scarce. I don't know why.
Well, mages were mostly primary use for magic, so I can understand that.
I know, but even in these later releases, the staffs used for mages are very scarce and are mostly more effective as items to consume than anything.
My guess is they want
more this later.
My guess is go ahead.
So what you're telling me is that essentially the warrior is the main hero here.
So that's the problem, Jova. Magic is very important. I know that people can do their rounds with like holy monks, but magic is very important for healing processes. Yes, you can potentially rely on items completely on your own, but it's best if you rely also on healing spells, and that's why a white mage is important. So I don't know, why they snobbed so much the offensive capabilities of wizards.
It really does like the warrior was like the main hero from the get-go, and then they figured, hey, let's do something different, and then, the other party members were kind of maybe a bit of a, I don't want to say last-minute addition, but much later of an addition.
Same goes also for the protection. You do get some stuff before, but relatively later on, before getting the better weapons for the mages. But for the most part, it's also, again, the armored plate, the stuff that you find more effectively. Anyway, nitro powder!
Here you go.
The explosive force in this powder will have a canal open in no time flat. I owe you, kids.
You hear that, guys? He owes us.
So pay us,
and he did a Sentai pose for that.
Much appreciated.
Oh, look at that! We're out of Jova's interdimensional pocket.
There we go. Now we can blater these locked meters in. Oh, what are you standing a room for? The powder set to blow. Unless you plan on with it, you better give up we can. Jesus Christ.
Okay, time to go.
See, I can roughly, I roughly get how all that's pronounced, but
me too.
That's the sound of one explosion, by the way.
Yeah.
And this translates into
also random whirlpool.
Yeah, that one is the entrance that we will need to see later on.
Whoa! Look at those high-def 3D graphics.
For seeing a canal being opened, congratulations! Like I guess remind me again how many millions of money the United States has to pour into creating the Panama Canal.
Oh, quite a
yo. Seriously, that's Sentai pose. I cannot wait to see what lies on there in the canal.
How nice.
Well, bye then.
All right,
what is
let's
this
go.
barbarian language?
It's Scottish.
It's like
written as it's.
This is
said.
why you're getting invaded.
My guess is Theo. The reason I didn't do any of this, any changes when it comes to the whole variety of weapons for black mage is because they wanted to keep things. Yeah, there's quite a lot of improvements, but they still wanted to keep things somewhat faithful to the original release.
Also, for the record, like I said,
I
just to
think
not have any part bloated with too many encounters. Sometimes I will speed up, sometimes I will just cut away, some encounters. But there will be sessions where I will just keep them. Again, I tried to find some balance here and there. Anyway, let's check that whirlpool. It's another one of those optional dungeons we will see later on.
Mermaids.
Yipes, people! You're not going to hurt me? Maybe I can tell you a little more about this place. This cavern is known as the Life Spring Grotto. Long ago, men and mermaids who fell in love could live here together in peace and fornicate like rabbits.
How did they make it work, though? Because
we need to tell.
Mermaids
This is always a question, isn't it?
Jova, it's like Futurama said, remember.
Fertilizing the egg.
Exactly.
Also,
Not just that.
Also, how were we able to breathe underwater?
Not to mention, Jova, there's always...
It's a suppository.
Not to mention, Jova, there's always evil witches that are willing to give them legs. So that we can go to,
So in this case, it's strictly just for the fornicating of
Anyway,
relationship.
by navigating some more after the canal, we found our next city, Melmond. Now this is our Restore the Crystals to Grace. This is our first major city, but it is under the influence of the lack of a crystal because the earth is being putrid. If the earth crystal regains its glow, life will return to earth. The hills and valleys will once again flourish. Stop by my father's shop, okay?
Wow, everyone else is in the dumps, and you're like, oh, stop at my father's shop, I gotta do some advertising.
I'm just a farmer.
Oh, okay, nice to know.
the basic formula from this point on is a town has gone to shit because they don't have a crystal. We get the crystal, things get better.
Pretty much. What's in my name? I gain a way here, Fred Druger, to find out the springhead of the Earth's decay.
Teo, the gods of that ruined this particular Final Fantasy were real dicks. Like the stability of human civilization is entirely dependent on these things being in the correct place.
It's kind of funny that you say that, but I want to reserve that for the thing that I want to mention for the credits. Alright, the weapon shot doesn't seem to have anything interesting, so let's see if something else has better luck.
Dang, even their weapon shop kind of sucks.
Well, we have a decent armor for Jova, but damn if it's costly, Jesus.
Damn the expense, we'll do it anyway!
Well, Jova is the tank of the team, so I should be investing in him.
Pretty much.
Damn new capitalism, always in my way.
Lord knows I have to carry enough with these guys in my pockets. What's some iron to add on to it?
Alright, let's try to sell some vendor trash here. Some of the equipment will be useful later on, like I mentioned, but most of the stuff that you get at the beginning is not really, so you can just sell it away on your own. Especially because, anyway, the Earth is decaying, yeah, and all it's doing the vampire that lives in the cavern of Earth. Our town is in such a rotten shape because it's blocking the flow of the power of Earth. Will you stop him for us?
You know what's interesting, Teo?
Yes,
the first Blade of the Fault paid homage to this vampire by also, so I think you can find that interesting.
It's also another common, usual starting villain for some D&D campaigns. Hell, to the point that an entire expansion later on called The Curse of Strahd. Hold on, there is nothing I, the great genius Dr. Une, do not know.
Of course.
You never heard of me? Inconceivable. We'll learn more about him. He will be useful more later on.
Well, it's called so...
Yeah, but again, the Curse of Strahd expansion was entirely built around your team venturing into this land, where these vampire
Holy shit! Shiro, we found a clone of yours! That woman in the shop looks exactly like you, apparently. Oh my god, it's me now! There's a lot of cloning going on in this game.
Yeah, this place is clearly evil.
There's also particular. Well, one of the optional dungeons also is a room that is basically a mage fest, like a lot of mages rolling around the same room.
So does that mean, Teo, that I'm gonna get my own existential crisis about life and death? Oh wait, sorry. I'm 8 games too ahead. Sorry.
To be fair, you already know that you were created, as you mentioned in an earlier part. So
Sure.
Wouldn't it be impossible for you to have that existential crisis?
True.
Depends, Jova. What the Black Mage's entire dilemma is in Final Fantasy IX is essentially a very romanticized fantasy version of the androids of Blade Runner, basically. Like, of all things to reference, it's actually interesting that a fantasy setting like 9 pays homage to Philip Dick.
That's kind of Final Fantasy IX thing, though. It starts off with, the classic Final Fantasy theme for like 80% of the plot, and then around like the 90% meter mark, that's when it throws in this weird bout of technology.
Well, to be fair, Java, the existential starts already. Again, one of your central character, Vivi, the character of the Black Mage that Pedro mentioned, which is a reference to the Black Mage of this game, is entirely built already about the existentialism that he experienced right from the very beginning. This one has a couple of very genuine sad moments. No purse.
Yeah, I can imagine really, really old Gandalf saying.
Basically, this stone golem will not let us pass unless we give him something to eat. The problem is that he's a very picky eater, so warriors, you will need to find something that only he can consume.
But don't you know, Tio, Dodongo doesn't like smoke.
Why don't
We
you
just
eat
took 2 steps.
Why don't you eat the boulder?
I love these monster names in the
Tiger.
Lesser Tiger, Crazy Horse, like he's not just a tiger, he's a lesser tiger. He's not worth a shit.
Poor bastards.
Well, that's
What about more tiger or something?
well, what am I supposed to take from that name?
Existentialism with the proper actual android will be explored later on instead in Nier Automata, of course. But 9 was still, pioneering these, and again, being referential to, to Blade Runner.
There's a side quest in World of Final Fantasy that does a great job paying homage to Vivi's entire arc, and it's a very loving tribute
which
to
Vivi?
it.
Vivi from Final Fantasy IX. What other?
Because sometimes the series has characters that have the same name in different games.
Anyway, let's speed up.
Now, Vivi is exclusive to 9.
For these dungeon warriors, I decided to let you take a shortcut. The good news is that you arrived at destination before, but the bad news is that you will have an encounter for every step. So I decided to pull the accelerator down.
Is it really a shortcut then if we're stopped every few feet?
Technically speaking, yes, because you're using less time, to get to the destination.
Guys, I don't know what's going on with my body. I'm moving faster and I can't stop.
It's for the sake of getting through things properly, because literally
I'm
every
gonna
step...
be sick.
I mean,
look like this. Would you rather be sick, or would you rather we have to deal with the fact that every step I take literally has us getting jumped?
Just think of this as extra experience. So yes, Pedro.
Well, let me get.
I recover from being jumped faster.
Well, let me give you the list that you need to know, Dwebs. The names are Sid, of course, being the most prominent. There's also Biggs and Wedge. There's Une, and God, what's the other one too? The one that goes with Doga. That's it, Doga.
The usually sages. There are some other minor stuff, but of course, my absolute favorite. Well, it's not like a recurring because.
Oh yeah, and Gilgamesh as well. There's Gilgamesh as well.
And his faithful companion in Kidu. But there are other stuff like potential also recurring, not just monster, but also particular characters or super bosses that roam around, like Shinryu, Omega, Ultros, Typhon, Death Gaze, for example.
Yeah, but
the Archfiends, and the one instead that shows up here, the elemental Archfiends, and one of 4 are called in another way, but I forgot, basically group of 4 demons of the elements.
Mm-hmm.
The primary idea behind Final Fantasy 1 is it's a very basic restore the world by collecting all of the MacGuffins type of story. Later on, they're gonna Sakaguchi is gonna attempt to throw in some incredibly. Go ahead.
Hold on, time to face the vampire.
All
things in this world are destined to end in death. Yes, we actually gave him that kind of accent. The seal cannot be broken, and so the earth shall not. Whoop.
Dimitri, what are you doing
You
here?
cannot alter destiny. Mere mortals cannot kill the undying.
All right, let's kill
Well,
him.
it's Mr. Vampire. It's nice, but we do have a white mage with exorcist spells in our arsenal, so you know.
Sick him, Shiroi.
Okay.
The white mage show you will naturally have.
Basically,
stuff that he is
Shiroi,
pretty
undead enemies can be damaged with white magic.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, Pedro actually got the kill first.
I guess good old fire.
the other
worked
thing
on
You
about
that.
snooze,
undead,
you lose, Shiroi.
Well, the other thing about undead, they're very susceptible to fire, so you know, light them up.
To give you an idea, Shiroi, in Final Fantasy VIII, there's literally a. Don't worry, saying this out of context doesn't spoil anything. There's literally a.
We got also the Star Ruby, which is what we need for the golem. Go ahead.
There's literally, Shiroi, in Final Fantasy VIII, a president who has a zombie body double, don't ask.
Yes.
And you can kill him immediately by just using a Phoenix Down on him.
Same goes for that ghost that attacked us in the Gi cave in Final Fantasy VII, the ghost of the Gi tribe. If you use an elixir or a Phoenix Down on him, you will immediately destroy him.
It's like
It's
I
like
said.
how the final boss of Final Fantasy Mystic Quest, his weakness is literally cure.
Keep in mind that it doesn't. Keep in mind that it doesn't happen all the time. The game, some of the games sometimes do actually impose a restriction by having an undead enemy that cannot be insta-killed with a Phoenix Down or a Vice spell. It will maybe still vulnerable to healing spell, but it will have to still, you know, work your ass to destroy it.
Yeah, they
The
would.
idea of enemies like that is that they work on reverse psychology. Casting Cure will absolutely murder them for some reason, like in Final Fantasy Mystic Quest's case.
It's more, well, yeah, that was weird, but for the undead, I can see the thought process. They represent death and decay, and again, taking inspiration from Dungeons and Dragons, you know, a cleric, someone who usually uses the white mage spell, represents holiness and fighting against the undead. So the thought process is these force, you know, clashes against each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing.
Hey, Glibs, how's that for shadow boxing?
Anyway, let's see if I don't think I get another counter. So let's give the ruby to the golem and see if it's edible enough for him.
Okay,
Let's check
Glibs,
what it
get
is.
to him.
Uh-huh.
An enormous red jewel. Great flavor.
Oh boy,
text.
I get a ruby. Does that mean Jova gets a sapphire?
You have a star ruby. Give me star ruby and I'll let you pass. I'm that easily corrupt.
That's it,
Ruby,
though.
no!
Oh no! Look at my ass. Oh no!
That's it, though.
You ate
It's a-
Ruby, you bastard!
Oh. Nothing tastier than rubies.
8.
Five.
Oh boy.
I'm not even kidding you. He just goes away off screen.
Hey, you know, okay, so a star ruby may be something, but what about star platinum?
That's not how it works.
Well, Jova, think of it this way: like he likes rubies, and rubies are red, so maybe you can make that argument. Usually, make that he has good taste. So,
Sure.
Yes. Hey, some actual other treasures to pillage.
Hey, more gil, a random encounter.
I thought I added this one. Well, whatever.
well, like no, like just to bring some, just to make some clarification
Yeah, go ahead.
for those who might not know what the hell I'm talking about. Just stay tuned for the eventual playthrough because that's kind of FF8's shtick, just introducing random, weird, bizarre content and immediately dropping them without explanation. Let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah, unfortunately, pretty much because the president having a body double that doubles as a zombie is used like only once, and it's never actually mentioned again. It's not like they say, "Oh, it was a common thing," because it was actually expecting that. Like yes, but it's not like it's ever a plot point. It's just there for the sake of you having to face a boss and not kill the president, immediately.
Let me put it like this. Final Fantasy VIII script is one of those scripts where every time they need something to happen, they pull some kind of weird concept that helps will that plot point into existence. They need to explain why. They need to explain that it's not the Garden forces making them lose their memories. No. Suddenly, Quistis brings up the fact that there are GF critics that are just spreading lies about this, even though these things these quote-unquote GF critics have never been brought up in anywhere in this game, and will again never get brought up after.
Remember, are there ever even the mails that you receive in your seed terminal, or like with the journey for journals, for example?
Maybe.
Mostly because I haven't played the game in a long time, but I do remember reading them, so I don't remember if it's there or not. But no, it's also integrated in gameplay. Like, hey, how do we have the B team have a dungeon, an actual dungeon at the end of this one? Because facing directly the boss would be a bit anticlimactic. We need some kind of an excuse to have a dungeon. Let's have Quistis completely act out of character and locking yourself and the team in a room.
Yeah.
But it's only foreshadowing, you will see later, because now instead it's time warriors to meet the sage that the town people were talking about. But I mean, we did defeat the vampire, so technically speaking the earth should be, back to its usual shape, right?
Well,
Sure.
Well, technically, did we already have the earth crystal?
Well, yeah, but we need to restore the correspondent one. Again, that's the mission of the warriors, as we'll see. So you are the ones who defeated the vampire, eh?
Yes, we are.
But it was only a servant.
Of
the beast
course.
corrupting the earth crystal lurks more deeper within the cavern.
Of course.
Here, take this staff with you and use it behind the vampire chamber. Not even joking, you had to move your ass through the entirety of the dungeon again just to get there.
And I will say this.
Thankfully, this is the only dungeon where they pull this kind of shit. The other ones will be more straightforward.
True.
So is
but
this them trying to be cheeky?
not really. And I will say this, Shiroi. Get used to this, because Sakaguchi loves to pull this card where, oh, don't you see, this bad guy you were after turns out to be just a servant of a bigger bad guy. Trust me, this is one of his big favorite plot twists.
Anyway, for the sake, I just jump cut it, but as a trade-off, I will show the rest of the random encounter before facing the proper boss of the chamber.
Aha! You defeated me, but little did you know that there's an even bigger bad guy that I was working for this whole time.
It's on paper, it's not too bad. Again, raising the stake and shit. The problem is that we overdo it, or they don't have any build-up whatsoever. Final Fantasy IV is very guilty of this, sadly. It's 4 is guilty of two things: what I just mentioned and fake character deaths. Seriously. It reaches the point where it becomes basically a parody of itself.
And then there's Final Fantasy IX, infamous as it is.
Wait, what specifically?
He's talking about Necron too.
Oh, I guess.
Hold on.
That's something that happens at the tail end.
Hold on. Not just that. It's literally a man, behind the woman, behind the man, who's behind the mystic force and all that. Like... Okay, aside from Brain being... Kuja shows up already at the end of this one, so it's not like it's a super big reveal later on in the game.
I think what he's saying to you is that first it's Quinn Brun, then turns out Quinn Brun is being manipulated by Kuja, turns out Kuja is a servant of Garland, so...
Yeah, but then Kuja immediately gets back his position. Garland, if anything, the Garland of Final Fantasy IX is mostly inconsequential. He's there to have Zidane have an out of, like, a more serious business kind of moment, like his darkest hour moment. And then you fight him once, and then Kuja disposes him like a cheap toy.
That's the thing, though. Then, once again, comes Necron here. It's like, what was even the point of that if Necron was going to be in charge of it all along anyway?
That's the thing, Joe, but that's also the problem. Even per his dialogue, it's pretty clear that Necron is not like in charge. It simply put the fact that when your character literally die, and he's basically the rule of Afterlife, which is empowered by the fact that in the original concept, the final boss in that position was supposed to be Hades, the guy that you fight as a super boss instead. You know, which would have made instead more sense to be the ruler of the Afterlife that you have to defeat in order to get out. I don't know why we swapped.
It's like I keep saying. It's like
I'm guessing from my playthrough of 9, you want me to cover Hades as well.
Well, not just that, Jova, Ozma too. But keep in mind, the PC version has boosters that make you invincible, so you don't really have to worry about that.
No, not
really. Oh, really?
Not really, no.
That being said, I would like to ask you at least at some point to actually give the game some, chance of challenge, because otherwise it might as well just watch someone else on YouTube.
Oh, trust me. By no means do I plan to abuse the invincibility thing. I'll probably save that for, super bosses or cases that are, rather BS.
Fair enough.
It's like I've said before. Unlike what some purists would have you believe, not everything from the classic Final pre-7 games was great, and the whole Cloud of Darkness thing was one of them, and the whole Necron thing, at least from my perspective, shouldn't have been a thing, and it would have been much more satisfying to have Kuja be the final boss and have the satisfaction of taking him out instead of suddenly pulling this guy and then basically spouting out the whole Phantom Menace diatribe of anger leads to hate, hate leads to whatever.
So, Pager, would you say that disproves one of gaming in the Clinton years' complaints of Final Fantasy VII?
What do they have to say?
Basically, one of their points was Final Fantasy VII's structure wasn't that much different from the earlier games.
Absolutely not.
No. I'd have to show you not just the review, but also George Woods' apparent attempt at a rebuttal at the backlash the review apparently got.
I watched Kadikaru's video, so I think he mentioned that, but it might have, I might have missed
I'll have to show you. If you have time after this, would you want me to show you those?
Sure, we'll see. But no. Another thing, in the meantime, just to get back a second on what's going on. Like I said, taking inspiration from the monster manual, also D&D. One cool thing that they keep, for example, is the fact that the troll enemy regenerates. Granted, it's not that much that it regenerates in terms of HP, but it's also very resistant to your attacks. But what's the weakness of a troll, even in D&D? Fire. So if you have some experience already from having played D&D, you might have more knowledge in terms of how to deal with some enemies. But it's not really that hard to do some experimentation and trial and error. Again, this PSP version is also very much more forgiving. So you can basically go to town and experiment all your spells, and then heal back up at an inn for very cheap. And again, the Peninsula Power level also helps you gather experience and a lot of heal for you to become more powerful. So the game actually gives you the tool to actually, be prepared enough to potentially experiment and see its nastier sides.
Yeah, when Sakaguchi made this game, he made it with the purpose of making a very replayable RPG, as in half the fun of the game, at least from his perspective, was replay the game various times with different setups of jobs to see in how many different ways you can complete the game.
And people actually took that in his word. So there's that. But not just that, the difficulty of the original NES game, aside from the glitches also, and the fact that it was the era of that, I argue comes also from the inspiration. If you've never played Dungeons and Dragons, depending on the dungeon master that you find, your character has a relatively mild lifespan. If the dungeon master is very generous and the dice are on your side, you will manage to go through the entire thing, having the fun of your lifetime, growing as you planned, having your story arc, blah blah blah. If you find a dungeon master that is not really forgiving, and you're really having really bad luck and rolling only ones, in the critical places, I hope you're good at, you are not annoyed at writing a new paper sheet for a new character every 5 days, because that's what's gonna happen a lot. That's part of the fun, though, Shiroi. Again, the entire idea of it was at the core of creating D&D. The idea of having you impersonating a character that you wanted to go through this setting and having, rolling as this player.
So wait,
but
the questions are in English, and yet the answers you can give are in Italian.
Wait, what?
I saw the screen just then saying this will overwrite your data.
Oh
The
God,
question was in
I
English?
forgot. No, I'll say later anyway. Who speaks to me?
It is I, the Warrior of Light. The
There you
only
go, we
guy from
reached the Crystal of Earth.
Skeletor?
I am he who feeds on the power of Earth.
You're so bloody
I will not be
supermarket.
disturbed by mortal man. I am the Lich, fiend of Earth. God, that was... Anyway...
I think I'm
Hold on. Be careful, warriors. This powerful necromancer is susceptible to light and fire, but he has on his own very powerful spells too. So it's better if you gain some protection if you can.
You need a time, Pedro?
No. I was trying to say something too. That's the thing too. I think something like this would be better. I am Lich, and it's like something like this. I mean, I don't know if...
What I wanted to get for the fact that he is a literal skeleton, so probably dried up. I know that people are being more, used to He-Man, so of course Skeletor from that series. But I forgot actually how the Lich, the Necromancer, the Archlich on Adventure Time sounds like. But there's that too, for example.
I definitely get where Tio's coming from. Like, well, your voice, Pedro, sounds good, but it sounds too guttural for a guy who, well, literally doesn't have any gut.
It's a desecrated corpse.
Well, if he doesn't have any guts, then shouldn't he sound like anything?
Well, it's more so my attempt
And
is more...
congratulations, Shiroi gets the killing blow.
Yay!
Well done, Shirai.
Hey, what's surprise?
Well, what I was trying to go for a job is something like demonic and
Fire.
evil with that voice.
Yeah, you're fired. That's your prize.
Anyway,
Yes, no, fire is the solution to everything.
with the Lich,
get out.
congratulations, warrior. With the Lich being destroyed, you raise proudly the Crystal of Earth and restore the light of the first crystal.
For reals this time.
Yes.
Okay, just insert it in here and twist.
You're
And
not too
voila.
far off. There you go, jazz. This, in turns, unlocks one of your bonus dungeons, but again, it will be... I will explore these later. This is just foreshadowing.
Oh, snap.
Now the Earth Kingdom will be good until someone decides to take that crystal off there. Seriously, this is such a fucked up way of the world working.
Okay.
This
Here's
is
what we
also
do.
Earth, from the power of Earth roll sport. Anyway, like
here-
I said, the dungeons have the mercy of giving you at the end after defeat the corresponding fiend a teleport for you to get outside.
Okay, so here's what we'll do, guys. We'll leave a sign that says, "Do not touch crystal." That'll ensure
Please,
nobody takes it.
Yeah,
Keep
but then
off
they'll
grass.
just but Dover, that'll just tempt them to touch it.
See, we'll be going off of the honor system here, and we'll, might as well get some bout of
I Dover, I got it.
Imagine
I propose.
trust in people.
I propose a bit of reverse psychology. I'll have the sign say, "Go ahead, touch it, see if we care," and then they touch it and get vaporized.
Yes.
Anyway, warriors for the next party will probably venture to the west and see what other lands lie beyond. So see you for that.
So yeah.
See you then.
Skip Europe though. See ya.